Welcome back to the Talos of Tech podcast, ladies and gentlemen. It's me, my Mike, and his Mike. And there's an Apple event in just a couple days. We're so close. Get pumped, get excited, because we don't have that much longer to go. Randy's traveling right now, in case you're wondering where he is.
He was so excited he couldn't make it.
He was so pumped and so excited, he decided, I need to be at the event myself. He was not invited to the event, but he will be there. He's going to show up outside of Apple HQ banging on the glass. And Nick is not dead, despite what a lot of you have been asking. He's just busy working on space content with some other channels. So that's taking his focus right now. But Mike, thank you for making the time to be here. If it weren't for you, this show would not happen. So
thank you. I appreciate being here. I appreciate your offer to have me on the show. What I wanted to start out with before we start talking about the event is I think as of, was it last week? Yeah. I said I was getting the Studio Display and the Mac Studio. Or maybe that was 2 weeks ago. Either or.
Yeah, it's been a while.
I got the Studio Display. It's right in front of me. I'm using it right now.
Okay. Here we go.
And as a backup, I'm using the iMac camera, so that way Drew can maybe compare and post in what the quality is on the cameras. But before I dive into that, the way I'm doing it is...
Whoa! Oh my god, I didn't know you got it. I did not see... He did not show me this before we...
It was supposed
You didn't tell me? Mike, you lied to me.
Yeah.
When was your VIN assigned?
Actually, it was kind of like you, and it was a surprise in the way that, what was it? Oh, so it was supposed to be ready yesterday. It said no, actually, even before when I first ordered it, it said it'd be ready by the 15th. So I'm like, okay, I'll be done with traveling by then, so that's fine. It'll be after the Apple event, so whatever. I guess I'm getting
September 15th.
September 15th. It was gonna take, I think, a month to get it.
Oh dang.
And then it moved up to I think the 8th. I'm like, okay, well that's better. I guess it's gonna be right after the Apple event. That's a huge
advancement.
And then it said the 1st. I'm like, okay, well it's the Thursday, so I guess I won't have time to set up for the podcast, but whatever. I guess I'll have it by that time. And then Apple sent me a store QR code for the order to come in and pick it up, because that's what I've done is in-store pickup. And I was really confused because on the QR code it said Thursday, September 1st, pick it up here. And I'm like, okay, but you already sent me the QR code, and on the progress bar it says pick up at store.
Oh, like you could pick it up today.
Yes, but on the QR code it said pick it up on Thursday, September 1st. So I'm like, is it at the store or is it en route? What's going on? So I decided, I think on Tuesday, I'll just go in, see if it's there. If it's there, awesome. If not, oh well. Maybe I'll pick up an adapter or something.
You got to go to the Apple store. Make a day out of it.
And there's a whole bunch of Apple stores here in the Bay. But anyways, I went in there, had them scan the QR code, and they're like, yep, it's in the back. So
whoa,
it's all set
up.
Man,
Apple is really exaggerated with their timelines, aren't they? They're like, oh, it's not ready till mid-September. Actually, it's ready now. You can come get it.
Apparently. Whatever. So
you tricked me! Finally. I knew it. I had a feeling. We were talking about it.
I think the only feeling is before the podcast, I was talking about how disappointing the camera is.
Yes.
Which is something we could talk about for a little bit. But I guess
did
now
pick up on that.
I did want to highlight, I've now got like 3 different panels of
paper.
It's
still going.
So I've got the iMac Hello panel. I don't know if the viewers can see this, but the iMac Hello, I've got the SpaceX Dish McFlat face cover, and then now I've got Studio Display.
Wow.
Cover.
That is not a collection I realized existed, but like, I don't know if you still have it, but we were wondering what to do with our Tesla Monroney sticker, which is about that size. The big paper that gives you all the breakdown on the specs and where it came from. And it still has the little pull tabs for adhesive. So you can peel the paper off and put it against a window. But I'm like, I don't know what window to put it on. I don't know why on the outside of our house we would want like Model 3 specs. Or
I mean, if you really want to, you can frame it, but that'd be a little bit much. I don't know. Maybe you're
I
just
was
really
going to
proud.
throw it out. I just took a picture for like, if I need to look at the specs or something, I'll have a copy. And I was going to throw it out, and then Louise was like, "No, don't throw it out." But
think
I
they
need
put
a door like
ours-
you have.
Yeah, I think they put ours in the back of the car underneath the hidden floor space. So it wasn't even on the
Oh.
window. Like, we couldn't find it because, of course, it was during the pandemic and they just need to
Yeah.
get cars out.
No, they never put it on. I've never seen Tesla put it on the window. But yeah, I'm glad.
I think we folded
I'm
ours
glad
up
the
and put it
collection's
away.
grown.
Yeah, so the cassowary and the sun have decreased in height, and they'll just continue to decrease. I don't know if viewers can pick up on that being a cassowary. Beautiful bird. Anyways,
But yeah,
so I've now got the studio display right there, the box.
Congratulations.
And I've also got the Studio Mac. I am very happy about all the ports I have now.
yeah,
And-
you've got a lot more ports.
Was it Tuesday and Wednesday was a very chaotic day where
Yeah.
I spent both those days organizing wires around the desk, making sure that things looked as clean as possible. And I guess for reference, I've got a 90-degree glass desk, and
Yeah.
it's hard to hide wires, right? So it's mainly like maybe twisting them around some of the legs, but maybe not too much so it breaks
Yeah.
the wires and all that. But like
Uh-huh.
some of that, I've got what was it called? Basically the thing that the mic runs through to make sure that it all sounds good. I've got that sitting on
yeah.
top of the Hue.
Mixer? The amp?
I think it's a preamp. That's what it's called. Yes.
Preamp. Right.
So I've got like those two things sitting on each other: the Hue Home thing and the preamp, and then I've also got a capture card on the ground along with the Starlink router.
Yeah, you've had quite the setup. How you
It's
got
already-
all that to plug into your iMac, I have no idea, but somehow.
I didn't. It was a whole bunch of unconnected cords. But now I think there's maybe one port available in the back, and I still have the two ports available on the front of the Mac Studio. And on the studio
Right.
display, I still have, I think, 3 ports available because one of them is occupied by the lightning cord that connects the two things. The
Or
computer and the
Thunderbolt.
display.
Yeah.
Yes. Why did I say lightning? Thunderbolt. Yes.
Don't mention lightning. I can't stand it.
So the fun fact, though, because I got the new keyboard and the mouse.
Oh, you have it.
Yeah, and now I've got a
Ooh.
black mouse, not like yours where it's all black, but
Yeah, no, I like the two-tone, though.
they both
It's
come
the EQS of mice.
with USB-C to lightning cords, which is
Whoa.
they're black and they look cool, but it's pretty
Are
funny.
they
having
braided?
one. They're both
Your
braided.
camera
yeah.
sucks so much, I can't tell.
I'll put it on the other one, I guess. I don't know, but yeah. Oh my- All right, maybe we'll get into the camera then at this point.
That's cool that they gave you braided cables. I still have it's USB-A to lightning, unfortunately, but it's black, and it came with the iMac Pro, and at the time, that was the only way you could get that black lightning cable. There was
but it
no way to
rubber,
get it.
basically, right?
Yeah, it
the-
was a rubber normal one,
nylon
but I
feel,
still
right?
have it, and I still use it. I've just been like, that's the rare exclusive lightning cable. I only even like the pins itself are blackened around the gold parts. I don't know if those are blackened
Yep.
on those.
They are.
Nice. Oh, those look so good.
I've joined the club in a way, but it's USB-C, so it's a lot better.
You're right. You've
Yes.
surpassed me in more
So-
ways than you can imagine.
So I guess two things when transferring over from the iMac to the Mac Studio and Studio Display.
Mm-hmm.
I guess we'll start with the camera since I keep on teasing that. Man, I did not know that the FaceTime HD camera was a beautiful camera until
Yeah.
I even went. I'll talk about that maybe later as well. But getting this all set up yesterday in time for the podcast today, I kept on trying to figure out why the picture looked weird on OBS and why it looks grainy and just not good. And so I was messing with all the settings. I was looking up all the different things on YouTube. Of course, like MKBHD pops up, and it's like, why the Mac Studio is bad? I'm like, I don't care about that. I'm just trying to figure out how to make this look better. It should be better, right? It's a
Modern
12
problems require modern solutions.
right? It's a 12 megapixel camera, so I'm like, it should be decent. It's the fact that it's, and you know this, but because it's 122 degree aperture, or able to
Field
see
of view.
field
Yeah.
of view, I should say. I think it's a 2 point whatever. I forget the spec, but because it has that wide angle, when you're capturing any video, of course, like it shrinks it up a little bit. So maybe there's a little bit of disproportion with my hands. It looks like my yeah. There we go. You can kind of see like the hand.
Oh, I see. I do see it. Sorry if the podcast it doesn't show up because we have to crop ourselves a little bit. But Mike
like,
his hands are noticeably distorted when they get to the edges a little bit. You can see it.
They grow really big, and I'm not even moving that much. Like moving them forward.
Yeah.
If I move them forward, it's like maybe an inch, and like they grow like massively, like at least 1 or 2 inches or something like that. So
it's the title of today's show, Mike's Big Hands.
I don't think it could beat Titanium Fork, but
Titanium Fork. That's a good one.
Yeah, watch that on the EV podcast. That was a fun episode. But yeah, so because of this wide field of view,
it's cropping basically.
It's cropping, and it just doesn't look good. And
yeah,
I've taken pictures, and Drew could also put those on the video as well. But like comparing those photos, it's interesting. Like the FaceTime camera is a whole lot lighter and is a lot more sharper of an image.
Right.
Even though every time I look at the podcast on YouTube or anything else, it doesn't look good, maybe like compared to Randy. But of course, he's using Ventura and continuity cameras.
Yeah.
The iPhone,
which we should all have soon. That should launch next week. So this might be the last show we have with the FaceTime cameras potentially.
It could be an issue, or maybe not. It might not be an issue for long, but
yes.
Yeah, so I'm really looking forward to next week, hopefully, or maybe the next 2 weeks whenever the next iOS update comes out, and Mac update. But yeah, so that's a disappointment. Along with that, in the way of transferring data from one computer to another, Apple recommends you do it during the setup phase, and they have like a specific window to do that, and they say just connect it via USB-C cables, and it should pop up on the list, and then you select that, and then you can select what things to port over or whatever.
I've never done that, actually. I
haven't either, because it didn't work.
Yeah. I'd heard bad things about it. Usually when I get a new Mac, I just start fresh and just airdrop a few things that I want, but I've never tried the like transfer from your old machine before, so it didn't work.
No, so I did your version of it. Is I airdropped a whole lot of or maybe not work files, but basically Final Cut Pro files, so that way I could continue work on some of the things I work on for the channel. But that was a little bit annoying because, of course, the airdrop took forever, even with pretty decent speeds with the Wi-Fi. But whatever. So that was a little bit disappointing, along with the camera. But besides that, what was the other thing I wanted? Oh,
yeah. How's the display itself? How's just having a bigger display at that size? Like, is there any complaints
insane
with that?
There's no complaints. I was rocking the Monterey background for a while, but I'm like, let's change it up. I think I chose the curved letters one, but that was a little bit too weird for my eyes because it's a huge display. Well, no, not the cursive one, but
okay.
It's like the last option on the list for backgrounds if you have a Mac and all that. It's like a very inky neon look with curved letters. I don't know. Anyways, I opted for the Big Sur wide shot of the big bridge and all that. All these preset photos and all that. It looks great. The water looks fantastic on the corners, and the mountains look great as well. It's a good background. But it's a really good display. I spent... Because I got this studio display on Saturday right after the podcast, and I decided to watch a whole bunch of content on the highest quality, and it looked amazing. I think the first video I watched was this one guy. I think someone on the Discord linked a whole bunch of different cars doing their auto park features, and so I decided to watch that. And it was nice seeing basically like maybe not every single grain, but almost every single grain on the sidewalk next to the car. Wow! Being able to differentiate those, I'm like, wow, this display is beautiful. So it's been a fantastic display in that. But what I did find, even though that Apple says that you can plug the studio display into basically anything or a lot of things, if you plug it into an iMac and the iMac alone, like you're not plugging into this Mac Studio, but the studio display into the iMac can't handle it. Specifically,
Really?
it can't handle center stage. It has a hard time with it.
Huh.
To the point where I was doing some tests. I was looking at some data, or I had the activity log data on
Mm-hmm.
the screen as well, monitoring it. And if I activated center stage on OBS, the after maybe like 20 or 30 seconds, the image would get very delayed, or like the audio. No, yeah,
Oh.
the video would get very delayed between when I'm actually talking and
Yeah, it's
when
out of
OBS would
sync.
show it. I'm like, that's
Uh-huh.
strange. It's never done that before. And
Mm-hmm.
then all of a sudden, the program quit after like a minute. I'm like,
Oh, it
weird.
crashed?
It crashed. I'm like, why did
Wow.
it crash? So then I opened it up again, and it crashed again after a minute, or maybe 30 seconds this time, because
It does not like center stage.
it doesn't like it.
Huh.
And so I put my hand underneath the vents, basically right by the power cord on the iMac, and it was blasting out very hot air.
Wow.
So what
You're
I've
screaming.
what I've concluded is that the iMac, or the M1 iMac at least, is not set up for center stage through an external monitor, or at least.
And is
can't
it
handle
outputting to both then? It was because the only thing I'm trying to think of is like I never recall anyone who got like the M1 Mac Mini, hooked it up to the studio display and complained about center stage not working. But maybe I missed that story, or like what I'm thinking is the M1 chip is outputting to your 4.5K iMac display, and it's outputting to the 5K studio display simultaneously, and then you try to throw in the center stage on top of that, and I guess the M1 GPU just gets tired at that point, or it's like, oh, it's too much all at once.
it. It rose
I'm
about
trying to
40
think
or
of
50% in CPU usage
wow.
whenever I enabled it.
Uh-huh.
But I can't figure out, maybe, but if I remember right, I had OBS on the iMac screen. No, I had it on the studio display screen, because I was
Okay.
looking at the camera on there as if I was looking at the iMac screen, but instead I'm on the studio
Right.
display screen, or I'm looking at that camera and all that.
Yeah.
So it was all on the studio display, and maybe that was the issue, but still, it was
Well,
really
it wouldn't
hot
matter
to
where it was. It's just as long as like both monitors are active, I think that's work still for the chip. It's still outputting.
So maybe the 4.5 and 5K displays combined for them one just can't do it, which is
Maybe.
understandable. But it's funny that I looked around. I searched up for a while. I dug deep. Well, maybe not dug deep, but I dug a bit in the internet. I couldn't find anyone
Sure.
who's used an iMac with a studio display and had this
Really?
issue.
Yeah, I can't think of anyone either. I realized that now I'm curious. I want to check and see if that's like, do they say it's compatible with the iMac, or
They say you can use it, or at least you can pair. I mean, I see no reason that you can't, right?
yeah,
And
they
worked,
both got Thunderbolt, so
and it worked fine until
Uh-huh.
I activated center stage. So
weird.
very weird, and
Could be a bug, I guess.
nothing I could. I mean, either bug or just hardware limitation, because the bottom of the iMac, both the metal and the air coming out of the vents, was really hot. So
Yeah. I believe it was doing some. I mean, part of the issue could be that OBS is still, well, at least the version I have, and probably the version you have, is not optimized for Apple Silicon, so it's
No.
running through a emulator, basically, the Mac OS built-in one, Rosetta, I think it is.
yes.
So I'm on the compatibility page right now, and it does say it should work with the 24-inch iMac, but yeah, it's
Apparently, some features don't.
yeah, maybe that's overworking it, I guess, because if you did it on a Mac Mini, your Mac Mini wouldn't be outputting to two over 4K displays. So maybe that's what's hurting it, or because I read a report yesterday that I guess OBS has optimized now for Apple Silicon in the new 28 version. I guess they're on 28 versions now, but I checked for updates and it's still not there. So
I'm at
people
OBS 28 on the studio.
Oh, you
but
are?
I'm noticing on the iMac it's on 27.2.4. So
How-
I'm curious now.
Wait, so your Mac Studio could get OBS to 28?
Yes, it's on 28 right now, but I don't remember it being 28 before. I guess I got an update in the last
Huh.
day or two that I didn't
Well,
notice.
I can't update mine right now, but last night, like, I saw the report and I was obviously really excited because I was like, I want OBS to be more efficient because that's usually the most power intensive thing that I do
Mhm.
on my MacBook is live stream or do this. And it it wasn't available. It was like you're on the latest version and I'm still on 27.2.4. So I don't, maybe it's a staggered rollout or something. I don't know, but that's interesting that so you already set up your Mac Studio. You're using it right now?
I'm using it right now. It's very quiet. It was very
Good.
eerie, kind of, or maybe not eerie, but like it was nice. Maybe last night it was like around 11 o'clock. I'm working hard on both machines, trying to figure stuff out, and it's
Yeah.
completely silent. The only thing that you can hear is the clicking of the mouse, and I'm like,
Whoa.
this is really cool.
Huh.
But of course,
And
like
just
the
to be
iMac's
clear,
not
you
as much.
got the base model studio display. You didn't get the height adjustable stand or the
Yeah,
frosted
so I
glass.
got
Okay.
both bases. I got the base studio display with the regular stand. The stand is a whole lot bigger compared to the iMac stand, by the way. If
Oh,
anyone
really?
was interested or confused, it is. Oh goodness, maybe. Oh, I'd have. You know what?
I never
Actually, I
saw
can
the
answer.
regular stand because I reviewed the height adjustable one. So I'm not. I guess those are the same size
The
base.
specs are on the internet, but it's a whole inch. So
Wow.
the iMac is 5 and the studio display is 6 inches. So it's a lot wider, and which gives it a
Right.
lot more present. I guess it makes sense, right? It's a bigger screen, 27 inches versus
Yeah, and it's
24.
thicker. It's
It is a lot thicker. It is not
it's
that.
got quite a lot of chunk to the back, which I'm in favor of. If it means no chin, I'll take it.
It is interesting comparing the two, especially when they're right next to each other with the white bezel and the chin compared to black bezel and no chin. Uh,
The duality of man.
it's like a cursed setup, or it was a cursed setup for the weekend before I got the Mac Studio. But
Uh-huh.
it's an interesting pairing using both of them, and universal control works seamlessly with them. I've currently got
okay,
it
good.
off just to make sure that there's no issues during the recording and all this. But
Uh-huh.
universal control worked fantastically. No issues there.
Good.
But and the setup wasn't bad either. Downloading everything went pretty well. But
Can I ask
otherwise-
you, would you have still bought this monitor if it had no webcam at all?
That's the issue. I mean, I've found in my searches last night, I did find that there's alternatives where there is like a sort of continuity camera program out there where you plug in your phone lightning to computer.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
It works.
tried
but
'em.
I'd have to like Jimmy rig a mount for the phone behind the display and all that. So I'd say yes, knowing this now, but
Yeah.
going in, I'd probably delay this purchase until the new update came out for Ventura, because
I see.
then I'm confident, yes, I can use my phone as a camera because this display doesn't have a camera, and I'll hold out with the iMac until then.
Sure.
Even so, it's a fine camera. It's not too big of a drawback with how grainy it is. Like, it works. I mean, for people watching the podcast, if your eyes are burning, I'm sorry because of how many pixels you can see.
I can't. It's so hard. No, it's like, it's not that it's bad. It's just that your last webcam was so good that this doesn't hold up to it.
Yes, on the 24-inch iMac. It was such a great webcam on such a great device that has no problems whatsoever.
Hey, you have your white bezels. I have my white seats.
There you go. I'll criticize you on those, and you can criticize me. Well, actually, you can't for long because the iMac is going to my mother
Yes.
soon.
She can.
Whenever
can
she's
live
ready to
with
pick
them.
it up. But yeah, so I guess that's a little bit of the story of changing it up, going from something a lot more cost effective and all in one to something a little bit less cost effective and not
But
necessarily
so
all
many
in one.
ports.
But yeah,
So many.
I'm so excited. I still have like maybe one or two adapters to get. For
what?
I mean, I've got like a gaming mouse that maybe I'll game. Like,
Oh, okay.
I'll do one or two games on my computer. But
Nice. Mac
either
gaming.
that, and then also I might need to either get some USB-C to USB-C ports for my SSDs that I've got for backups.
Oh, you mean like you mean cables?
Yeah, so some
Extras?
cables, or I'll get a USB-A to USB-C adapter to plug into the studio display for
We
that.
might have some of those. I might want to give you some because I have too many. So I might.
Okay.
I'll check.
Sure.
Let me know what you need, and I'll check around because we have a giant box full of cables.
You have a giant box of everything. You have all the iPhones and everything.
Too many boxes. I'm trying to get rid of as many as I can, but yeah. Well, I'm excited for you. I'm glad you finally got it, and I don't know if you've done any. Have you done any like exports or anything power intensive with it yet? Okay.
I've been way too busy this week. All this week was devoted to making it look nice and set up to look good. And also, I'm leaving today to San Diego to hang out with some dude named Riley. But
that's right. I'm getting to the point where I'm thinking like if I would have known Ventura was going to be a thing with continuity camera, I kind of don't know if I care to have a webcam on my laptop even, because I can't even think of that many situations where I'd be on my laptop but I don't have my phone. You know, like I always have these two together. My phone is with me even more so than my laptop, but like most of the time if I'm using my MacBook, my phone is sitting over here, and I'm like, probably next week I'll have it mounted and we'll have a much better angle and we'll have a much better sensor, and I'll just use that as my camera everywhere I go, and then we could abandon this whole notch business. Wouldn't have a big old notch on the top of the machine, which I don't really care. I don't really mind it. I don't notice it, and it helps the bezel all the way around look thinner. But if there was no notch there, I wouldn't complain either. That would also
do you think
be cool.
do you think that's possibly a future then for the MacBooks, is for these cameras to slowly die out? Because I see why it's there for at least desktop, or no, never mind. I see why it's there for laptops, honestly, a lot better, because it's a portable device. Maybe you want to do some business on it, you need a camera on the go.
Yeah. Some people use their phones for other things as they're using the laptop.
Yeah. But for like desktops, it's maybe not that necessary because you're already on a desk. You can already set up a camera or put your phone up there or whatever. It's static. So it's understood that you don't necessarily need a built-in camera for on-the-go travel or anything else. So would you think that Apple would go that far? I mean, they've already gone far enough to get rid of the SD card on the Mac Pro, and also reduce all the ports on MacBook Pros in the past. It is possible that they could do this for the cameras, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Like, it seems kind of crazy, but of course, like you said, Apple's removed things in the past, but it's definitely going out on a limb, assuming everybody buying a Mac has an iPhone, which is probably usually true, but there's definitely a demographic of people that would be annoyed by it because they have an Android, or they want to use their phone for something else, or people are just like, it's so expensive and the webcam, it doesn't cost that much to add, so just throw it in there as a backup in case they don't want to use continuity camera for whatever reason. Or maybe they have a really old iPhone that doesn't support it or something. Like, I would be in favor of it, but it just seems like such a bizarre thing for them to be like, yeah, no, you don't need it. I mean, even on your Mac Studio and on the Mac Mini, they bake in a really tiny basic speaker. It's not a good one. And I think they know that everybody using those is probably going to use some other form of a speaker system, whether it's on your studio display or dedicated monitor external speakers, they call them. Like, but they still bake a little one in there because it's not that much. So I feel like Apple will probably always want to just have a little bit of something to offer, even if most people, I mean, it'll probably depend on the usage rates, right? Like, once they roll out continuity camera, they want to see how common it is, how many people are using it, and maybe if it's not a substantial amount, they'll just keep the webcam. But if the notch is such a controversial thing, you know, maybe that's the motivation. The thing I could understand with keeping it on the desktop is just that you can embed that camera and there's still no notch, and the bezel is still pretty thin, you know. You can have a uniform equal size bezel, and because the display is so big, you don't really need the bezel to be as thin as it is on a MacBook. So it's like you can embed a pretty great camera, or an okay camera, and still not cut in on the content much. Whereas on a MacBook, you could have a very noticeable design improvement if they were like, here's the new generation, there's no notch anymore, but there's also no camera because just use your iPhone. That's a really good question, though, because I keep going back and forth. I'm like,
Yeah.
well, on one hand, you're spending $2,000 plus potentially on that machine, so
Give me a camera.
you should just get a camera anyway, right? Like
It doesn't even have to be the 122 degree field of view.
Yeah.
It could just be the
Right.
FaceTime HD, and it'll work perfectly fine, like it has for us for however long I've been on the podcast.
Sure. Yeah, it's worked. It gets the job done. And again, it's webcam because Apple knows most of the time you're using that camera, it's going to get compressed through FaceTime, or it's going to get compressed through YouTube or Zoom or Skype. And that's all going to be dependent on your internet connection anyway. So it's going to be compressed regardless. So on the other hand, though, I'm thinking like, well, if you're dropping that kind of money on a MacBook, you probably are the kind of person that would have a decent iPhone that could act as your webcam and do a lot better job. I guess that would make a lot more people have to buy the Belkin mount or a tripod or something. But hey, I mean, that's sales for Apple, right? They could look at that as a even more reason to buy a MagSafe accessory.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
With your AirTag, yeah, they intentionally did not leave a little keyring loop for your AirTag so that they could upsell you on more accessories. So, yeah, as crazy as it sounds, and there's probably a bunch of comments on the podcast already, no, they would never do such a thing. I kind of see the point on why getting rid of the webcam on a MacBook is not that crazy of an idea. They could boost accessory sales. Most of those buyers probably have a decent iPhone, and your camera performance would be much better. Maybe it would encourage a lot of Apple sheep to buy more than one iPhone, because
It also encourage people who don't have an iPhone, who have an Android with their MacBook Pro or an iMac.
Yeah.
Or some weird desktop that is a Mac, to buy an iPhone finally jump in and get one of those.
Right.
And
It's another
increases more.
ecosystem
Yeah.
point, you know? Yo, you like the MacBook so much because of how fast it is at video editing? Well, if you're doing camera stuff, better pick up the latest iPhone. You're going to need that MagSafe accessory to mount to the... You know, it's like... Financially, I kind of get it. But, that's such a perfect, like, controversy if it does happen. It's like the headphone jack and the charge brick all over again. Everyone's like, what? I can't believe they did. But it's like, but...
We just rolled out this feature. And you can use it. Yeah. So that's what ping pongs in my head as well. It's very much like it's definitely an Apple thing to do. Like, we're just going to get rid of all the cameras on all of the devices that we sell besides the iPhone, because the iPhone is basically the Apple camera now. So
yeah,
there's no reason
except the iPad. That gets 3 cameras because
we don't mention the iPad Pro. We can mention the iPad
doesn't get
iPad
iPad doesn't get continuity camera. Why? I don't know. It just doesn't.
Maybe
It
eventually.
can't.
Maybe 2 years or 3 years down the line it might. But yeah.
We keep assuming that the iPad OS team exists and it's not just some intern, one guy on the iOS team that has to optimize. Oh, we need to add that to the iPad as well. Okay, well, let me work on that. So every year they think of like one thing to add.
I was
And
looking
it's
at jobs at Apple in the Bay Area recently just because I was curious
Whoa.
to see what they had to offer.
Really?
And it was funny because there's a lot of jobs for software development for the iPad. I'm like,
Interesting.
And then there's also I think equal or greater amount for hardware for iPad. I'm like, I don't think they need that many more engineers on hardware.
Yeah, how many people? Yeah, that's fascinating.
But there was a lot of test engineers for the iPad, a lot of hardware for the silicone. Well, maybe not the silicone, but the integration of it along with some of the cameras. I mean, they don't list it specifically, but of course, like they mentioned, like, oh, this is for maybe some sensor work, and so that could mean camera. Or anything else.
I see.
But yeah, so.
I didn't
Who
think to
knows?
look there. That would be interesting to just watch to see what they're hiring for.
What's nice is they give dates on when they uploaded it compared to like Tesla or other companies that may not. They'd kind of just have,
Okay.
oh yeah, this is a position. It may have been here since like August of 2017, but it's still a position that we might want to fill, I guess, or we just forgot to take off the site.
They're still asking.
But at least with Apple, they do list it like, here's the date that it was added, here's the requirements that we want and all that, and it's not bad. Definitely not a bad career site if you're interested in looking at career sites and trying to figure out what a company wants from you as an employee, whether you're an engineer or a media consultant or anything else. But, so I guess maybe that wraps us into the event coming up next week. There's a lot of
Speaking of notches.
Right. So there is a lot of things that are a buzz. I know that recently there's been a lot of leaks on the iPhone, in which even prior leaks were like there's going to be an eye hole, which is the most hilarious name for it, going from the notch to the eye hole. But then now it sounds like the eye hole is turning into a full pill, which is alluring to
I
a
love
lot
all
of
these
Android users,
names.
apparently. I don't know. Like,
With the rear cameras, we had the stoplight design, and then we had the stovetop design.
Yeah.
And how at the front we went from notch to eye hole to pill. And it's not like the eye hole was necessarily wrong. It's just that via software, they're blackening out the gap between the two dots so that basically you put the microphone and camera indicators, the green and orange dots, they're trying to put those in between the two.
Oh, so those are going to be actual pixels then. So instead of actually being like an LED that lights up that's separate from the screen, it's a single LED, or it's a single pixel they're lighting up.
Yeah, it's separate on Macs. Like my MacBook Pro has a little green indicator light, and so does your Macs. But on the iPhone, when you access the camera, you get a little green dot or orange dot up in your ear, I call it. That's where the display goes up past the notch a bit. You get those dots, and they kind of just go above your cellular icons, I guess. And I guess people, at least what 9to5Mac's report is saying, is that those indicators are being moved to where the pill is. I guess that cleans up the UI a little bit, but I've been talking with a lot of people about it so far. I'm not sure I've quite got your perspective on it. Do you prefer the notch look? Do you prefer the eye hole? Do you prefer the pill? Do you not care about any of them? Or does the redesign indicator?
At this point. I like, honestly, if the 14 has a notch, which I don't think it will, but if it had a notch, I wouldn't care.
Okay.
I'm more of the mindset
I wouldn't either.
I like the sensors on the back. I like the camera. That's why I'm usually buying it for. That's why I get the Pro, because I want really good shots. Specifically for my garden right now, I'm growing some nice corn and all that, and a lot of the up close shots that I'm doing on this are nice, but I would like some macro lens. So,
yeah, no, dude, your macro shots are gonna look awesome, especially because the upgraded ultra wide lens this year. So you're gonna see every atom of that corn growing. You should do a macro time lapse.
That'd be interesting.
That would be fun.
I do have a tripod and all that, and it might wave in the wind a little bit, but I guess what I'm getting at is if it has a notch, that's fine. If it has an eye hole, I think that's pretty funny. I'd probably, maybe for the first month, I'd get a wallpaper that says either phone or hole vertically. And so whenever I turn it on, whether it's the lock screen or the home screen, it's an eye and then the background is hole or whatever. Just something like that would be pretty comedic. But if it's a pill, I don't necessarily think that's bad either. It just means we're going into the next phase of what the phone looks like, right? This is what we get to look forward to. It's not necessarily going to be like a 1-year thing, because as far as I can tell, or at least as far as I can remember, apologies since I'm not an Apple sheep, there hasn't really been that case with a phone where like that feature has died out almost immediately. It usually sticks around for like a year or two.
Those types of designs. I guess the iPhone 13 notch is still technically, slightly redesigned, and they haven't reused it yet. But the regular
what I'm getting
14
at is there's incremental changes with it, but it's still the same feature, right? Compared to like, hypothetically, Here's a pretty good one because it doesn't exist. The
Okay.
iPhone. So the iPhone 8 had its design, and then the iPhone 10 had its design. But what if there's an iPhone 9 that, like, for some reason had, like, I don't know, like, the button layout was different, right? It was way, like, the power button was on the top again, but it was on the top left now, and then the volume was, like, maybe on the bottom parts of the phone.
Yeah.
Really ugly and weird, and we don't know why Apple did it. So then when they went to the 10, it made sense. Again, this is a fictional universe because
Yes.
the 8 and 10, I believe, came out at the same time. But
What if?
what if? Yeah. So, like, I guess what I'm getting at is that's never really happened where, like, a feature like that has kind of come and gone within one iPhone cycle without being iterated and changed just slightly, like the stovetop camera getting bigger and bigger and bigger every year,
Right.
along with the notch getting smaller
Like a
and smaller.
malignant tumor. It just grows on the back of your phone bigger and
It's a
bigger.
wonderful visual knowing what cysts and tumors look like, personal experience. But yeah, so I'm not really I'm not a proponent of any one of those winning out. Maybe the eye hole design just because it's funny, but if it is a solid pill or anything else like that, doesn't matter to me. As
Okay.
long as it takes good pictures and has a good screen. I don't know if I'll turn
Sure.
on 120 hertz like I've said in the past, but we'll see. But
You could turn it off just to spite me. That would make me really mad.
We'll just be at odds. You're always like the white interior Model 3 and black bezel guy. I'm like, no, white bezels, but black interior and all that.
It's the Incredibles meme where he's like, seats white, bezels black. Mike is like reversed, and he's like, bezels white, seats black. Oh, that's perfect.
Yeah.
I think my only functional dislike of either the eye hole or the pill, which I'm not really a fan of either, is just that they have to move the sensors down further, which objectively means that it's cutting in on content a bit more than the notch does.
I don't think that's necessarily an issue for people who have like the max size iPhones, or I guess I don't know. This is an original idea. I think I've voiced this on the Discord, and maybe the community's talked about this. But like with the the Plus naming coming back with like the 14 regular, and then the Max still staying with the Pro iPhone. That'll be weird, but like still with like those sized iPhones, I don't think that eye hole or pill is necessarily going to cut in on much content because it's already a huge screen.
Yeah. No, there's truth to that.
And even so, if you're watching content on your phone, I don't think you're necessarily paying attention to that portion, or at least I don't pay attention to the notch too much. And this is like, I think, the biggest notch that they had when they first started the notch. And hasn't really been too much of an issue. And even so, people with MacBook Pros who don't have the artificial blackening on top for the screen to make it look like it's a frame instead of a notch, I don't see too many people complaining about that now.
No.
After it's sudden, there's a notch on the on the MacBook Pro. I think it should be fine. It is a little bit weird how Apple's kind of literally backtracking or taking a step back or down in a way on the screen.
A notch down.
A notch down. There we go. Something like that where it's cutting in on content, but maybe their test engineers and some of the people that have tested out prototypes and all that have found that it's not really an issue. And even so, Apple's going to make what they're going to make, and people will accept it and still buy it. So I don't think...
I'm sure.
I don't think it's necessarily going to be a big problem. I think it will be if people stop buying... I think it's only supposed to be on the Pros, right? So if it comes out on the Pros and you see more of people buying the regular 14 and the 14 Plus, that's when you have to worry of like, oh, they went too far with this feature on the Pros. And maybe we'll finally see that, like, oh, we messed up on this 1 year. We're getting rid of the eye hole or pill, and we're going back to the notch or something else.
No, I don't think it'll be like a big scandal or it'll be like a big controversy. I think it'll, like, based on the internet's reaction so far, most people seem very fine with it. They're like, the most common phrase I keep seeing is, it's not that bad. No one's
Right.
like super pumped about it. Everyone's just kind of tolerating it. And I think the purpose of it is not like, you're not going to gain anything, that you're not going to put any data up there. You're not going to have more pixels and more information that you put above the true depth camera system. It's purely just, to me, like, part of the reason I'm not upgrading is because the design is changed for the sake of, we just need it to look different. We want it to be noticeably different from last year's. Doesn't matter if it's necessarily better. It's not like it's giving you more. It's not like it's cutting in less, because technically it's cutting in. I mean, it probably won't be an issue when you're watching 16:9 content, but a lot of channels like to post 2:1, and that's when the content goes a little bit further on these tall aspect ratios. And you're right, probably on the max model it won't be noticed, but a lot of people, including yourself, will probably buy the 6.1 inch, and that's when it's more likely to cut in. And it's just like a side grade, you know. It doesn't feel, it's not like it's going to ruin the whole product and no one's going to want it because of this. But if you could pick a notch or you could pick the pill, personally I would rather have the notch, and I can have the notch just by not upgrading, so that's what I plan on doing. But I still think if a lot of people out there maybe don't like the pill or don't like the direction this is going, if you go the certified refurbished route, or if you go third party and try to find some 13 Pros, this is still a really solid phone. Like, battery life is great, awesome display, great cameras, and you'll probably save a couple $100 by buying this instead of the new 14s. And maybe the 14s have some other camera features going for them that you can utilize, but and I say this every year, you know, I remember doing a video after the iPhone 12 launched about how the 11 Pro is still a really solid device, even after the 12's launched. Is like, you get amazing battery life, and a lot of people didn't like the larger 6.1 inch size. Like, you could get a 5.8 inch iPhone with a pretty good battery life, and the cameras were still pretty good, and it didn't have 5G, but I didn't think that was such a big deal at the time. I mean, now it's probably a different discussion, but at the time I was like, don't just forget about last year's Pro option, because there's a reason Apple discontinues those after 1 year, and it's because they know they wouldn't coexist very well in the lineup. Everyone would, if they discounted them, and you could buy, imagine if you could buy the 13 Pro for $899 come iPhone 14 season, everybody would be buying that one. You'd get the 120 hertz, you'd get the good battery life, you know, it would be really popular. So they intentionally don't sell it anymore, but that doesn't mean you can't find it refurbished or through Best Buy or whatever. So just keep in mind, it's still an option, even if Apple likes to pretend it's not there anymore.
Indeed. And I don't think I'm in that camp unless, like, something is really wrong with the 14 for some reason. Like, they'd have to really make something terrible with the 14 Pro for me to consider, okay, well, maybe getting the 13 mini is a better bet. And
Yeah.
we'll just
Maybe
go
if, like,
there.
the A16 chip had some terrible overheating issue or something like that.
If the phone catches fire. Like,
The
this
bolt
one's
of
cousin.
iPhones. Yeah, the Note 7. I had the Note 7.
Nice. Yeah, it was pretty funny
Briefly.
having friends be like, oh, is that the exploding phone? I'm like, no, this is the
Yeah.
exploding phone's brother. This is just the 7 Edge. They're like, but it explodes.
Talk
right
about,
now.
like, anti-marketing. They had to announce before, like, every flight that if you had a Note 7, you can't fly on this plane. I remember, like, getting on a plane and they made that announcement. If anyone here has a Galaxy Note 7, please report it to the front. I was like, man, what bad marketing, what bad stigma that's creating. Every flight has to announce that.
Put it in the fire bag, seal that up. All right, this stays over here until the end of the flight. or it gets shipped through on a cargo flight to wherever you're
Yeah.
going. You'll get it in a few days.
Well, I guess because we're on the last podcast. This is the last podcast, I believe,
Ever.
before. Thanks for watching.
We've exhausted Nick. He no longer wants to be here anymore. Randy's
Everyone's
just like,
giving
I'm
up.
gone. I'm You're gonna get tired of it, so it'll just be me, and then no one wants to listen.
It's
to
just
me
you.
talk about stuff that I'm not well versed in because I'm not an Apple sheep. So maybe this
That
is
would
the
be
last
fascinating to listen to, actually. Just Mike talks to himself for an hour and a half. No, it's the last podcast before the event. There was actually conflicting reports now. Some are claiming that the regular 14 is getting a price reduction to $750. Do you think there's any chance of that? Or is that baloney?
Would that be less than... That'd be equal to what the 13 is right now, right?
It would be less. The 13 is currently $829 unlocked, $799 on contract, and this report was saying it was going to go down to $749.
That's a tough pill to swallow. Oh
God.
I don't think Apple would do that necessarily, right? Because they're not ones for decreasing in price. They either stay at the price or increase the price. The only way that they decrease the price is if it's a whole new product. Like
iPhone 11 was a price reduction, to be fair.
Was it?
The 10R was $749, and then the 11 came out, and it was basically the same phone, just with an extra lens, faster chip, better battery life, and they brought it down to $699. But that's the only... You're right, though. It's very rare. That's probably the exception.
I just don't...
Other than that.
At this point, going from the XR, or sorry, the 10R, the 10R to the 11, that was an upgrade, at least in hardware, significantly, because they added an extra lens, the notch became a thing, and faster speeds and all that. So there was definitely a lot more coming to it. I don't know. To justify, like, maybe it's an S year basically for 14, right? Because 14 is basically 13S. So, I mean, it's all S years at this point, but, or it should be.
12SS.
12SS. It's 11 SSSSS. 11 triple S.
Plus.
There we go. Yeah. So, I don't know. I doubt it. I doubt that report just because, well, one, how much I paid for my setup, but two, just my knowledge of Apple is they're very money focused. I mean, they're a company. They're always going to be money focused, but they are very much like, we deliver a, maybe not necessarily luxury, but a very reliable product. And with that reliability and reliance comes that cost. And that's just something you're going to have to deal with, because if you want to come into the ecosystem, here's your way in, but it's going to cost you a pretty penny. And if you want to pay more, you're more than happy to, but here's what the ticket is going to cost to just get into the door. So
they love their margins. They don't like cannibalizing on their margin. Sometimes they will, just to like prioritize market share, I think, but the biggest reason I had a hard time believing that report is the iPhone SE went up in price this year.
Yeah.
Even the cheapest iPhone got a price hike. So why would the flagship get a price reduction?
It's like stocks. We've gone up in the past, now we're going back down, and then we'll go back up again. So buy the 14, because the 15 is going to cost like $300 more or something like that.
Especially with all the inflation that Apple's been seeing lately, like everything feels like it's going up in price, and the iPhone 14 is going to be a hot ticket item, I'm sure, and a lot of people are going to upgrade to it regardless. So, plus, like, what would you do with the iPhone 13s if the 14 started at $749? Then, I mean, do you discontinue all of them, or do you have to discount the iPhone 13 by $150 instead of by the regular $100? Like, typically, 1 year goes by, and the iPhone that they keep in the lineup gets a $100 price reduction. If they reduce the price of the 14, then that's something people forget about, is like when the iPhone 11 came out, it was $50 cheaper than the 10R, but then they reduced the price of the 10R by $150. So that would mean, if this report is true, they would have to sell the 13 for $599, which sounds way too cheap to be true. Right? It's coming awfully close. The SE is $429.
Yeah, so it's getting pretty close.
Maybe Apple likes that. Maybe they want people to feel like, well, it's so close to the 13, I'll just buy that. But it seems too good to be true.
And then I'll just get the Plus, because it's just another that many dollars. Maybe I do have you on record a while ago before the M2 came out, you predicted 15 to 20% increase. But you also said on that very same day that the 13 regular was getting discontinued, or at least that was your prediction.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I wonder if
Huh.
your mind has changed then, because it sounds like you are or you're thinking that, of course, the pros are going to disappear.
Yeah, pros always go away.
But it sounds like you've backtracked a little bit from that statement, saying that the 13 regular should stay, or is most likely to stay, unless maybe they do this price reduction thing. And like, that's true, then why keep the 13 around, right? When you've got this whole lineup, right? Because it sounds like they've generated a nice lineup for next week. I guess we'll find out.
Yeah.
But there's the SE, right? And then you've got 4 different iPhone 14s that range in price greatly, or at least they will, because you have like a regular, and then a Plus, and then a Pro, and then a Pro Max. Like, it's a nice stair step versus, I guess, the 13, yeah, it was a decent stairway of like 13 mini, 13 regular, 13 Pro, and 13 Pro Max, and you can make the same argument. But I don't necessarily think, because they had to open up a new line for the mini when they made the 12 and 13, where with the Plus, I think it's supposed to be the same size as the Max, right?
Yeah, they're both 6.7.
So they're cost cutting there. So it is possible that they can cost cut, and at that expense, they get rid of the 13s, the whole lineup, because they're doing so much cost cutting that they're able to decrease the price. But now, like, they can rack up a whole much more because they've got a pretty terrific lineup for whoever's entering into the market this year with a new iPhone. You get your choice in very vanilla regular, which is still a big phone, or very Pro Max luxury that is
very
a giant. It's a giant brick. Your phone's a brick. When I held that thing, I'm like, I can't. My hand hurts just trying to hold this thing.
And I bet you're gonna have a similar, maybe not to the same extent, but you'll probably have a similar reaction when you get your 14 Pro, because that's gonna be thick.
That's what I'll miss. Because
it's
this
gonna have a
thing,
big bump.
Like, my hand is very much like, this is how I hold my phone usually, with like the pinky underneath, and my pinky gets tired after a while, which is good because I shouldn't.
Yeah, that's like a growing phenomenon. Have you seen that? Like, people's pinkies are getting cutouts.
Yes. We're getting notches.
our hands, like, you can very noticeably see it on the phone, the hand you use your phone with the most. People check your pinkies. Is your phone cutting into it?
You might be liable for compensation.
Yeah, you may qualify for reimbursement. Apple broke my pinky. It took 50 years.
What were you gonna say?
You have a clear case on your 11 Pro. Are you planning on getting a MagSafe clear case or something with your 14 Pro?
Yes. Well, actually, it depends, right? Because I'm not going to get a silicone case, because I've seen what my wife's gone through with her Apple silicone cases, and
that's why I stopped buying them. They
fall
wear
apart
out so fast,
and they're
not even a year. It's like 6 months, and they're peeling and falling apart. And I was like, why am I buying these? This is stupid.
Because she's going to get the 15. But her...
Oh, she's already decided?
She's not going to get the 14 because her phone is relatively new. She got it last year.
Yeah.
13 regular? Yeah, the 13 regular.
I thought she had the 12.
Does she have the 12? Yeah, she does have the 12.
Isn't
That's right. She's waiting 2 years.
So she's coming up on 2 years. Yeah.
Yeah, we do a 2-year cycle where she gets a phone 1 year, I get the phone the next year. We're always paying for a phone 1 year in a way. But
that's good.
Which is good and bad. I guess it's better for finances because it means you're always buying one phone. But it's not like you're buying 2 phones within a month or whatever. And having to deal with the headache of like transferring everything a bit. But
sure.
What was I getting at?
All the phone key transfers and stuff.
Yeah, all that stuff. Actually,
that's going to be
going back to it. All the passwords and other things seamlessly went onto the studio when I set it up. It was pretty decent, even though that like my iCloud is totally full and all that. And I still need to do some spring cleaning.
I wonder how mine's doing. I'll check.
Ridiculous. I don't know. Probably at 0,
iCloud.
Right? Or maybe not too much because you've made some changes.
Yeah, I'm at 340 megabytes used.
Dang.
I
Wow.
don't put much there, but I used to have like close to 2 terabytes, so that took a lot of work.
Yikes. Yeah, I think I've still got the base amount. Was it 500? No. 200 gig? No.
It comes with 5 gigs for
5
free.
gigs. Yeah, I'm I'm at maybe like 5.1 gigs out of 5 or something like that.
Oh, jeez.
Somehow it's
Okay.
like how? What was I getting at? iPhones. Yeah, so the clear case. I will probably get the clear case, but it also depends on the color, right? If it comes in a beautiful color, I'll get the clear case because I want to show off that beautiful color, like the midnight green. I think it's nice because it looks like a gray phone, but when you look closer, it's like, ooh, there's a nice green tinge to it.
So if there's another green like that, is that the color you want?
Maybe. It kind of depends, right? Because there's like that purple color I probably won't get. I don't think I'll go
Thanos
for...
phone.
Yeah, I'm not going to go for Thanos phone. I already have a Starlight iPad. I don't really want to have another Starlight thing because it's a beautiful color.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I think maybe that's what maybe makes me appreciate the iPad a little bit more because it just, I don't know, it looks nice. It looks luxury. And whenever
That's
I use it,
good.
I'm like, it's cool. I mean, it's an iPad mini. It's not that luxury.
I'm
but
glad you
still,
like it.
I love my iPad mini. I think
I
it's
just
a great,
imagine the checkout page for the iPhone, and it's like graphite, silver, alpine green, Thanos. It's just it just has the word written on.
It doesn't even say, like, I don't know. What is the purple? Have we had a purple iPhone before?
Yeah, the 11 is purple.
They
Did
had
they?
an 11
I think
purple?
they just call it purple. I don't know if they called it lavender. Maybe they
Yeah.
should call it that.
Lavender sunrise. No, that sounds like a
La-
topical ointment or something. Or a candle.
That's what they would call it too. Lavender sunrise.
I could just see it
Purple
now.
mountain.
Ooh. No, I think they could do a good shot of it, right? Like on Apple Park. They probably have like some lavender bushes around there. And they just like pan up from these lavender bushes to
There was a
Tim
purple
Cook.
12 too. They dropped it in the spring. I forgot.
That's right? Because it was no, was it the 12 or 13? One of those was Steve Jobs' favorite color. I think it was
Yes.
the purple. So yeah. So maybe
That was the 12. I'm
Oh.
trying to see right now if they just call it purple. Yep. We need on the pros they got to call it something else. They can't keep it. You know, it's not green, it's alpine. It's not blue, it's Sierra blue.
not baby blue. Not
This one will be Mojave. Monterey purple. I don't know.
I'll just go the lucid route. This is Mojave purple, and we took this picture at this specific time and took all those colors and put it into the phone's chassis.
We took a picture, we color corrected it, and then chose those colors that we color corrected with. It'll be Patrick Star purple.
I think that's pink, isn't it?
Oh yeah, that's also rumored to be a color this year. There's
Pink
going to
phone
be a
again?
pink for it.
Oh,
Yeah,
dear Lord. Not again.
Patrick Pink.
Patrick Pink. Anyways, okay. So, was the so yeah, the iPhones. So we're predicting 4 iPhones possibly getting a decrease in price, or at least on the base one. So we're supposed to get 4 iPhones.
I
What
doubt
else
it.
is coming? For someone who maybe isn't as privy to what's probably coming to this event.
Apple
But-
Watches almost certainly. Like we're seeing already that a lot of Series 7s are sold out. So that's, I don't say confirmed, but highly, highly likely that the Series 8 will be basically the same. Shrimp Apple Pro is tweeting out labels from packages of the Series 8 already, and it's the same 41 millimeter and 45 millimeter. So don't expect really much to change with this regular Series 8.
Same 2 sizes as well. The 42 and 44, is it? Or is it
It's now 41 and 45. It
41
used to
and
be
45?
42 and 44. Or no, it used to be 40 and... Oh, they've changed it so many times.
Right.
It kills me. But the big change with the Apple Watch line is there will be a Pro version this year.
So there's going to be
And
3 Apple Watches technically that they're shipping then for Series 8.
Yeah, I think
should say.
3. There's going to be a new SE. I don't know if you were counting the 2 sizes. There's going to be a SE2, which will basically be the exact same as the current SE, just with a new chip. And then the Series 8, which will be
Both
the exact
sizes.
same as the Series 7, just with a new chip. Probably new color options as well. And then the Pro is where all the changes are coming. That's the one with the flat glass on the front, the bigger display, the longer battery life, probably a new health sensor, but it's going to be like $900 to $1,000 or something crazy like that. I haven't seen many people say if the Pro is coming in multiple sizes. If I've read the report correctly, I think the Pro is just coming in one size that will be like 47 millimeter or something
Kind of like
like
the
that.
Samsung Pro Watch, Galaxy Watch. Yeah.
Yeah, I think kind of like that, and it will have a emphasis on more durable materials, so it'll probably be like ceramic shield with titanium, and it'll be nice, and that'll be the one most people want to talk about because all the other watches don't really change very much. But
Sure.
I bet most people are going to say it's not worth it because like a grand on a watch is a lot for many people. But
Yeah, I've
I
kind of
do
walked
think
back
it'll-
my idea of getting a Pro Watch, even though
Oh, really?
I probably would like one because I work with animals and I do a lot of yard work around the house.
Sure.
It would be nice to have a more durable watch, but think about it
Horse
now.
kick proof.
Horse kick. My watch already has a whole bunch of scratches and scuffs, but it still works fine. There hasn't been any glitches or anything regarding that. So I think I'm willing to keep with my Series 5.
Okay.
I think
Yeah,
it's
you're on
5,
the
yeah.
5. Uh-huh.
Thank you, because
I know.
I'm like
I
grandpa
do the
here.
same thing.
What
with
do
my
I have
phone, like,
now?
too. What do I have? Oh yeah, you have the 6. Not the 6S. No, Dad. That's still the 6. But yeah, I feel like Apple Watch upgrading is a dangerous cycle because Apple Watches do not preserve their resale value very well at all compared to iPhones. So like I'm not even upgrading my iPhone this year, but you can kind of justify pretty easily upgrading iPhones fairly regularly because you can sell the old one and recoup usually 60 to 80% of the cost. So to get the new iPhone every year typically ends up being $200-$300 for a lot of people, as long as you find a good buyer for your old one. But with watches, when I used to buy the new one every year, it was like 50% resale value or more would drop. You couldn't even get half of what it was worth a year later. And the battery deteriorates faster than your iPhone does because it's smaller. So I'm all in favor of like hold on to your watch as long as you can because you're not going to recoup a lot of that value by selling it or trading it in. So that's intentionally why I got the Steel Series 7 was because I wanted the glass to age better. But if your Series 5 conks out on you or does something bad, I would highly recommend finding a refurbished Steel 7 or 6 if you don't care about the bigger display.
I could probably
You'll
go
probably
for
be able to
refurbished
find
7.
that. Yeah. You'd probably be able to find those for like $500, maybe $600 instead of paying $1,000 for a for a Pro.
Wait until that goes
maybe
down.
less. Yeah. I'm curious what they're going for right now. I haven't checked. I was surprised though that even though the Series 7 is technically the newest watch, they're selling refurbished Series 7s, and you could get like a Nike Series 7 for like $300 or like $330. It's
Wow.
pretty cheap.
Do they have an option just to buy the watch and keep your old strap? Or
No, and I wish they would. I think that would work for a lot of people because a lot of the new straps I'm not really that big a fan of. Like, and the last time I ordered my watch, all the watches they had in stock were using these like 2-color bands where like half the band is one color and I was like, I don't want those. I don't. And all of the ones they had available for launch day, I didn't like. The only watch band I kind of liked was like a Nike sport band, but that pushed out the delivery like a month. I was like, well, I don't want that one. So I had to get a watch band I didn't like. So I just never took it out of the box. And I think I sold them or I still have them. I can't remember where they are, but I know I never wore them. That's for sure. But yeah,
Sure.
if you go certified refurbished, you can get a Series 7 Nike for $339,
nice.
which is not bad. And it will probably go down when the new watches come out as well. But if we find maybe they don't have, there's a Starlight one. I know you like Starlight.
It could match my iPad that I rarely. Well, I don't. I'd say it's maybe not rarely used. It's uncommonly used.
Uncommon, yeah.
I usually-
I really tried.
I usually use it when I'm supercharging, and unfortunately, the last time I supercharged, the iPad was at 1% battery. So
Oof.
I'm like, okay, well,
Yeah, I just leave a USB-C cable in the car so I can charge my MacBook, and I brought the iPad in here because I was like, oh, I'm gonna take notes or read my notes when I was doing my videos on the car and all these points. But
Sure.
then I realized I bring my laptop in to edit anyway, and I can just put the notes on here, and it's a bigger screen. So I was like, oh, guess my iPad. And because I don't have another USB-C cable just out of the storage box, I got to dig it out of the closet. I don't, I can't charge my iPad in the house, so I charged it in the car, and then didn't
So
use
inconvenient.
it. So it's so convenient. I want to see. I guess they have
I'll probably put one of these
steel.
cords in there for my iPhone or whatever, because we've got ports in the back. We could talk about that later on the EV podcast.
Yeah.
I guess.
Well, here's what they're going for right now. If you wanted a stainless steel Series 7, there's a Starlight one for $639 refurbished, which is not great, but probably I wouldn't be shocked if the price went down after the event.
Sure. Yeah, especially
That's
with the
a good
announcement of a Pro
compromise.
or something like that. Okay, so I guess getting back to it, 4 iPhones, 3 Apple Watches, not including
Wow.
sizes, I guess.
Yes.
Are we seeing iPads here as well, like iPad Air or something like that?
That one's no, we just got a new Air
I'm
earlier
not
in
paying
the year.
attention
I
to
think
iPads
it's,
anymore. Besides the
Yeah.
iPad Mini, I'm like, oh, that looks great.
I do think not a lot of people agree with, not any sources or any analysts are agreeing with me on this, but I think we're going to get the budget iPad, the 10th gen. They always want to launch that with the iPhones the last couple of years. And Gurman has said they want to launch it in October because that's when the Pro iPads are coming. So he just thinks, oh, iPad event. But they've actually never launched the Pro iPad and the budget iPad at the same time. They've always, which I think kind of makes sense because the markets for them are like totally different. The number of people willing to drop $1,000 plus on an iPad are very different from the people looking for like a $400 iPad, just the cheapest possible one they can get. And I think that because it's their best seller, that cheapest iPad sells better than all the rest.
Yeah.
They want to announce that at their biggest event, which is obviously the iPhone event, because the iPhone is their bread and butter. So even though there's not really anyone talking about it and there's no sources or anything, I think we're gonna get the budget iPad. I could be wrong. I could be wrong on that, but
I'll hold you to it.
It aligns with everything else. Every other time they've launched the budget iPad, usually
Sure.
don't do it in October. So
Do you think they're going to have as many events this year that they had last year? With
how many did they have? Was
they
there
had like a whole
November one?
bunch at the end, right? Didn't they have like a whole bunch like month after month?
I know.
Or is
I
that
think it was 2020. They did 3 events.
Yeah.
They did September, October, November. I don't think they
Yes.
did a November event last year. But yeah, I do think there will probably be an October event this year just because iPad Pros are coming.
Mhm.
There's talk of new MacBook Pros, which still seems early, but a lot of people seem sure about it. And then the Mac Pro, obviously. Apple themselves has
That's kind of
confirmed
late.
that's coming. Yeah. It could get pushed till the spring. I've heard some people say that they need a bit more time with the silicon, but
We need to carve out more holes in this Studio Mac to make it look like a cheese block.
yeah, I just wonder, like, it must look like a cheese block.
Well, it was a cheese
You-
grater, and they
Yeah,
just use
you-
the studio, just carve out holes for more air intake, and there you go, the cheese block.
I can't remember who it was, but someone bought the Mac Pro and grated cheese with it, and they said it wasn't very good at it, but it was painful to watch. You just see on the job application page, it's like cheese grater specialists. We need people who design cheese graters, please.
Imagine that every single year you can predict like what the Mac Pro is gonna look like, or maybe not every year, I guess, because it doesn't come out every year, but like every couple
Trash
of years.
can designer.
Yeah, right. Trash can designer the next year. Cheese grater designer will be next year. Is it like
It'll be a hair dryer designer when they're working on AirPods. They're like, we need someone who designed hair.
I was thinking for Mac Pros, like maybe the next one's like, I don't know, another kitchen appliance or something like that, or something. found in
Air
the
fryer
kitchen.
designer.
Right? Air fryer or
Because Apple likes air, right?
mixing
MacBook Air
like
fryer.
the what's it called, the big mixing. I can't think of the name of the brand.
The blender?
Yeah, well, no, not a blender, because there's a mixer and a blender, right? Maybe the blender specialist. That'd be funny. It's just a giant like trapezoid. It looks like you could probably find
Oh,
this.
God.
You can put it in later. It's the what is it? The Xbox. Oh, what do I wanna
Fridge?
call it?
The fridge.
No. So you're thinking about the Series X. I'm thinking about the Xbox 360
Mm.
S edition or whatever is before
The
the
Slim?
one. The Slim. It was the Slim. Yes, the Xbox
Slim Jim?
360 Slim because it had like it had the it called back to the design of the 360 with like
Yeah.
kind of like a big slot or a rounded rectangle or whatever. I don't know what you want to call it. But then like with this Slim, like of course it kind of came in a little bit like an hourglass almost. It came in
Yeah.
a little bit skinnier in the middle and then came out on the ends. So maybe it could look like that for the Pro, but just bigger or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
It would be funny being able to predict designs of certain products by what
Yeah.
Apple's listing out, or it could just be a giant red herring as well. They could
Yeah. They just give away the design in the application process. Looking for coin designer for AirTag or something, but
they don't even say AirTag; they just say coin designer, and you have to
Yeah,
figure out
coin
what's going to look like a
designers.
coin, right? Because you could definitely make a case. Oh, maybe the next Mac Pro, instead of being a giant square, it's a giant circle to like boost Apple's ego with Apple Park, make it reflect that. But it's a Pro because they love their Apple Park, and they're like, well,
Yeah.
the Mac Pro should look like the Apple Park because we love Apple Park, and it's gonna have a whole bunch of cooling that goes through the middle and all that.
And solar panels.
Well, no, that's where like you'll have like the light and all that, and then like on the back, kind of like the trash can, you'll have the ports, or maybe it's on the inside.
Right.
Really weird. I don't know.
Yeah, but like
Brainstorming.
I can't imagine they're selling that many Mac Pros right now. Like they've confirmed there's an Apple Silicon one coming. They literally admitted it during an event. And the Mac Studio is already outperforming the current Mac Pro with the M1 Ultra chip. And, people like Marquez have already switched to the Mac Studio. So my point is, even if the Mac Pro is delayed and they can't launch it until the spring, it probably wouldn't hurt for them to unveil it and at least talk about it at an October event this year and just say coming early next year. That's what they did with the last Mac Pro. They unveiled it at a Dub event, and then they didn't ship it until like December. So there was like a long period of it's coming, here's what it is, but it's not ready yet. And because it's the Mac Pro and it's such a rare, special product, I don't think it would be that bad. But especially because Tim said they expected to be done with the transition by this year. Right. It's like, okay, even if we can't ship it, we should at least eliminate all the Intel Macs from the website. And maybe the Mac Pro doesn't deliver this year, but they could at least get rid of the old one. That way they can say all our new Macs are Apple Silicon powered. There's no more Intel. As long as they get rid of that one Mac Mini. On the
I was going to
website.
say the little Mac Mini in the corner. I'm still here.
That's another possible launch is people are saying that there could be an M2 Pro Mac Mini later this year. I don't know
Maybe
if that's
their
ready
one
yet.
more things, right? For like either the end of this event or the next event. I guess maybe that's the probabilities that you have to weigh in this case. Is there going to be a one more thing at the end of the event next week, or I guess whenever you're listening to this, it could be it could be years in the future at this point. But is this event that's coming up, at least compared to our timeline right now, will they have a one more thing, or will they just announce it blatantly for either an M2 Mini Mac, or they'll just tease it again, the Mac Pro, or they actually use that as a one more thing, or it comes out in the next event as the main event item, or kind of like the big fireworks at the end, like we're finally doing it. Here we go. We're done.
Right. They
I'm
often
curious.
do one more things on things that we all knew were coming. Like the
Well, we know
iPhone
that
10
the
was a
Mac
one
Pro's
more
coming.
thing. Yeah. Well, I mean, like there could be a one more thing at this event next week, and it's just the Apple Watch Pro. That could, like, we all know it's coming, and then they're just like, there's the Series 8, which has a new chip, and it's great. And there's the new SE, which has a new chip, and it's great. So we've had such a packed event. It's been so great. And we're like, what? And they go, but we do have one more thing. And we go, oh, okay. There it is. Got it.
You just had to tee it up. Thanks, Tim.
Yeah. They hype it up a little bit. Yeah, they're good. They're good at marketing. They know how to make people excited for things. I just really hope that the Apple Watch Pro doesn't have 120 hertz, because I
Imagine
don't have a
that.
choice.
Yeah, no, you have to get it.
It's out of my hands at that point. It doesn't matter what I think.
I like
Doesn't
to
matter.
think if Tesla came out with a new Model 3 that had 120 hertz, like next year, they're like, oh yeah, we're refreshing it. You're going to be like, I should have bought it years ago.
Oh God. Yeah, we got to save that for EV. But
Yeah.
is there any last closing thoughts you have for tech? Are you excited for your new phone?
I'm very excited for the new phone coming. It's going to be I'm not excited for the early morning reservation or pre-order and all
Oh
that.
yeah. 5 a.m.
I guess
I'll
I'll
be live.
there in the chat. Yeah, I'll be there in the chat, but
Probably in the car. I might turn these on.
that'd be nice.
Use some. Oh, I bet I could use the.
Oh, the little
This
visor
isn't-
light. It'll be
not
better
very
in the
light.
dark. It'll be better in the dark and all that.
Yeah.
I guess to close my maybe final thoughts is to close out this list that I've kind of got. So we're expecting 4 iPhones, 3 Apple Watches, possibly a budget iPad. Anything
Possibly.
else? Maybe like some TV Plus content, like with Ted Lasso.
Oh yeah.
Probably Ted Lasso
I
trailer.
forgot. Every Apple event comes with at least one TV Plus trailer now, so that's got to be there. Possible wild cards that were alluded to earlier in the year is maybe a new Apple TV, maybe a new HomePod. But if it's a new Apple TV, it probably won't be very different. It's just like new chip or something. It's possible, but not. I think the watch and the phone are like the most likely things. Those are the two you should like.
Oh, and they'll
for sure
definitely
expect.
take their time talking about it. Because they did
Yeah.
with the 11 and the Series 5. Yeah. So
Yeah, you could probably do a whole event with just those two. I don't.
Well, I
think
remember
you
the
need-
iPhone 11 event took forever. I was
Yeah.
sitting in a research lab, just having it on the side, listening to it. And it's just like,
Uh-huh.
it's been an hour and they're still talking about this thing.
And every year, more and more of the iPhone segment of the keynote is based around camera features.
It's
Like
just the
every
camera.
year.
It's
it's
no longer
turning
the
into-
iPhone, it's the iCamera.
Yeah, it's like, and look at how it performs here, and look at the quality. And every year they do this same thing, which is personally why I love live streaming my reaction to the event, because as exciting as it is, because there's often a lot of really cool unveils and really cool moments and really exciting moments, it's always, there's a bunch of fluff and things that are not interesting and not exciting. And often it's the same thing where they go, when we take a picture, it actually takes 15 pictures all at once, and we use our neural nets to combine the best of all those pictures. And they've been doing that since like 2013. I remember them showing like on the 5S you could take a picture and it takes all these pictures and it stitches them together.
It's always like
And-
a Detroit, like dark night with like wet sidewalk or wherever, and some person in like a raincoat right by a neon sign or wherever. So
Yeah.
it gets like the dynamic shot and all that.
Right.
Yeah.
They always have these perfect scenarios, and then they'll probably have a little short film that they shot on the iPhone, and we're
James
like,
Bond again.
wow, it looks so good. And the cinematic mode is at 4K now. I won't be shocked if they have that kind of announcement, and now we can shoot in 8K. But every year I keep asking him, like, when are you going to shoot a TV Plus show on the iPhone? It's like, oh no. So we don't do that. So you're admitting that the iPhone isn't as good
No.
as a dedicated camera system. Well, we can do a little 60-second short for the keynote that's shot on iPhone, or we'll do a commercial that's shot on iPhone. But if it comes to original programming for their subscription service, no. We need our red digital cameras for that.
I think what I'm interested in seeing, which isn't necessarily on the Apple event, but in the past I've seen you get excited in your office, jump out of the chair or whatever. It'll be interesting to see your reaction in the Tesla, because at least people
Oh,
who
yeah.
watch the podcasts or maybe any content with Drew recently with him being in the car, there's not much room for him to kind of run around and jump, and
No.
I don't think he wants to run around and jump in the car, but it'll be hilarious. just
Yeah.
to- if he's that
I might
excited.
do it
he-
inside. I might
okay.
for the tech stuff. I think I'm gonna stick with like doing tech content in the office and then EV content in the car, other than right now, I guess. But that's just because I like the HVAC system. So
Yeah, why not? avoid.
Maybe I will. Maybe I will do it in the car.
I don't know. I think it'd be hilarious just to see you get so excited that you open the door and then you just run around the car on the camera. You just
Have to
see.
get out of the car.
I mean, I think
I
your
turn
laptop's
on the
your
light
lap or
show.
whatever.
The car starts dancing.
Hype.
Hype in the chat.
Do you have any last minute statements before your
I'm excited.
guilty verdict?
I'm pumped to see the prices. I think that's what I'm most excited for because there's a lot of back and forth. Some people are like, it's the same, it's more, it's less. It's like, oh, we don't know. And I'm excited to see how they talk about the pill. Like, how do they say, this is better?
You don't have to swallow
Obviously.
this pill, I swear.
You'll have to swallow. Right. So, yeah, it's just like, it's been a fun year of leaks and rumors. And it's kind of fun to see it all come to an end. And I'm kind of done talking about the 14, leading up to the 15 launch, which could be USB-C. That's far more interesting and exciting to me than an 8K camera or a pill. Like, knowing that the iPhone might make the jump makes me pumped, and I want to make more videos on that process and all the rumors leading up to the 15, especially if more and more rumors come forward that, hey, this is going to be the switch to Type-C. That's something I actually care about, and I don't know if I will upgrade to the 15, but it will definitely be more tempting than the 14 will. That's for sure.
I'll laugh if the 14 looks like this.
Yeah.
The leaks were true back in right after the 13 was shown.
Yeah. They were all right all along. Alrighty then. Well, we'll catch you guys next week, and we'll have lots of new stuff to talk about, I'm sure. But thank you all for tuning in, and we hope you have an excellent hype train on the way up to the event. Bye-bye.